Everybody, I am super excited because you just heard Dead Holiday from my guests, MoonKill. Welcome into the show, everyone.
Oh, thanks, man. Great to be here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
There's four of you. We're all sharing a mic. This could be a little delayed. We'll kill that dead space, though. But, guys, I want you to introduce yourselves and tell us a little about yourselves to my audience.
I'm Dan, singer of MoonKill, guitarist. We just wrapped up this show in Longview the other day, a great new festival that's out there. I'll tell you more later. I got a lot about myself, I can tell, but we got a lot to unload here.
So, like, just what would you say the band is? Like, describe the band. Like, what's the gist? Like, to me, I said horror punk when I first met you, but you were like, oh, that's interesting. Like, and you said a lot of people have been giving y'all like different answers to what they're labeling the band, which nobody put labels on things. Fuck that shit. But listen to them; they're kind of horror punk, in my opinion.
No, the horror punk totally has been, like you said, and a lot of other people have said that, it's been a building theme with our music. And with our music, we didn't sit down and we were like, let's do horror punk. We just sat down and we were just trying to, punk music was definitely there. And then it unloaded into more of this horror kind of theme. And I had no idea what I wanted to do for vocals, but I mean, a lot of people will tell me, like, you know, we're going for like a Misfit sound, Glenn Danzig, and some of the horror kind of started sparkling through there, I think.
I will say Danzig definitely shines through on a couple of tracks, especially, I think it's what's the opening track of the album? Dead Holiday. That's it, yeah. So, like, how would you describe it, man? Like, introduce yourself real quick, too.
So this is Mario, and yeah, when we all got together the first time, we all started, passing around ideas for influences. There was a lot of old punk, like we said, the Misfits, Ramones, Queens of the Stone Age is a really big influence for me in particular. So that sort of stoner desert kind of sound. And so we initially called ourselves a punk band, and then we kind of started realizing, and people would call us on, like, you're not just a punk band, you're like doing something different. So it's a mixture of 4 different ingredients going into that pie that makes something kind of unique. But it definitely has that punk, the horror kind of sound, some Cramps kind of feel to it, post-punk, and people have mentioned new wave sound that's in there too. Maybe some older Devo, obviously not with the keys, but in some B-52s.
I can see that with Dan's vocals. Like, there's definitely some new wave nuances in there. Yeah. But, like, was that what you were kind of going for with that?
That was something that, like, originally I wasn't going for that, but I think in response to what people were saying and the way that our persona was building, I did kind of lean into that new wave sound. And sometimes the drums with Fred, also it happens, there is kind of a natural inclination. We do kind of lean in there sometimes too. So for sure.
And Dan, Fred rather can elaborate a little bit more, but he sprung it on us after a couple months. He's like, you realize a lot of the beats I'm keeping are like kind of dance beats, which I was like, wait, what? And I didn't realize it, but I was like, yeah, that's why people kind of move to it. He takes this sort of 70s, 80s, or 80s rather beat, and I'll let you explain that, Fred. And when you put all the distortion and the heaviness and the punk to it, it makes for a pretty unique sound. But that one, he kind of pulled a sly one on that one. Do you want to talk about that, Fred?
Yeah, so my background is playing drums is mostly punk, and I guess our influences or the style kind of came with where all 4 of us cross over, because we all came with different influences and different styles, and we had played in different bands that were totally unrelated. So when we first started rehearsing, my thing was just to keep it super simple. So keep the beats very, very simple so that everybody could dial in their parts. And then Dan and I took a ton of time on our demo, the Kong sessions, and we did Murder House. And we kept speeding up faster and faster, and so it was really difficult to record and find that very perfect tempo. And after we recorded it, I told Dan, there's not a single fill in that 5-minute song.
Wow.
There's no fill, there's no roll, there's just pickup beats and stops, and that's it. And You just swap from like eighth to quarter notes. And Dan said, yeah, it's perfect. And so we just kind of leaned into the that kind of dance pop vibe, because sometimes it was a perfect backing for just where all of our influences crossed over.
We don't push that dance pop slogan around, because it obviously just sounds nothing like dance pop, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I was about to say,
that
I'm like, I don't get dance pop at all.
Yeah.
Apparently I have the wrong band in. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
But it's funny because that's kind of the genesis of some of those beats, but you would never ever in a million years, like I said, none of us realized it until he pointed out, like, what the hell?
Horror dance pop, I think.
Okay, I would listen to that. Like, or wait, could you really say that's Thriller? Maybe is like.
Yes.
Oh shit.
And the other big key element in what Fred was saying is that we wanted to crank up the tempo, so the BPM was going up. We had this one day where it was like an epiphany, at least in my mind. I was like, we were listening to this one song by this band Chain Whip, and their song is like 195 BPM, and I'm like listening, and we're listening to the hi-hat. It's like insane. It's just so fast. And we did that with Murder House. We sped it up. And that was just like a secret ingredient. Like, hey, if you're struggling out there trying to write a song and it sounds bad, just play it faster. Seriously, try it. Or play it backwards.
I mean, it worked for Sex Pistols. I mean, it'll work for anybody. Now, Mario, you've been very, very quiet.
That's Danny.
Oh, that's Danny.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, nice to meet you, Danny.
Danny.
Appreciate y'all having us. Well, you having us here in your house.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Welcome to the studio.
Welcome to in the studio. Cut that.
Yeah, it is my fucking house. It's been the most comfortable place and cheapest place to record in Deep Ellum.
This is better than any, like, you know, what else could you ask for? It's a cool spot.
So for you, like, you look like the responsible member of the band.
I'm glad.
Very quiet. Very quiet, very reserved, so far. And the dog's chosen favorite at this point. Like, so how'd you all meet? Like, from what I understood, like, y'all work for like a t-shirt company.
So yeah, the band came together. Yeah. So Fred basically knows all of us, and Fred and I, when I moved to Austin, became friends through a mutual buddy, and so we've jammed together for a while. So Fred kind of introduced, I think, Mario, and who knows exactly how it came together, because I was just knew Fred, and he kind of pulled me into the whole thing.
And this is Mario. So I'd known Fred since I moved to Austin, just through mutual friends. I suck with names. That's cool. And so Fred he's certainly no braggart, but I could tell through some of the stories he had to tell me about playing drums in L.A. that this guy's good. He's a good drummer, and we'd been I'd been threatening to put together a jam session with him for years, but I was a little intimidated because I was like, he's probably really good. He probably doesn't want to jam with me. But anyway, finally I forced him to it, and we were like, well, who else? And we had already met Dan through some mutual friends also, and we were at a party and we waltzed over to him. We're like, hey, we're gonna jam real soon. You want to join us? He's like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then then Fred knew Danny. He's like, hey, I'll bring another buddy with us. So then we all got together up in the attic of a screen printing shop, and that is to this day our Kong's screen printing, and that's where we do all our rehearsals. And the very first time we got together, it was
so
just...
do you all work for Kong, or how did you
no
just
one
get...
actually...
Okay, yeah.
No. Oh, got it. Yeah. Fred was a carpenter by trade, and he would apply his craft up there in the attic. And so he invited us up there to play. There's plenty of room, and it's just works out. It's kind of home. Yeah.
Well, that sounds really cool. And there's a weird story that you didn't elaborate on your website, but... Which one of y'all lived in a trailer in the driveway? And that's how you...
that's Danny.
So, never mind. I take back my responsibility.
Yeah. I don't want to go into all the details, but,
Like, why was that on
it was just...
because it's a story that people want to talk about.
Yeah. Fred, Fred... the guy that I've known since I moved to Austin in 2017, And yeah, so had some troubles at home. Had to spend a little time in a trailer, and Fred's driveway is where it happened to be. So I enjoyed the time. But I'm back. I'm back in the home. I've got things good.
Quick synopsis.
got out of the trailer, back in the home.
Sounds like there's a lot of information being omitted on this one. Yeah, and it's like, we don't talk about this no more. 86 that. Like.
It was really awesome because Mario said, "Hey man, I called Dan. Do you want to jam?" And I was walking out the door, and Danny goes, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "I'm gonna go jam with my buddy Mario." He goes, "Can I come?" And he just grabbed his guitar, and that's how the band was formed. And it was literally that day.
First time I'm hearing that.
Yeah.
Now, where does the name MoonKill come from?
This was actually we had a text string going for about 6 months where everybody threw out the most ridiculous names ever, and it was really important for Mario to have a name that could coincide with his graphic art because he does all the art for everything that we put out.
The band lets you do it because they're too broke to afford anyone else.
Yeah, they don't have a whole lot of choice. I'm cheap. I'm free. And but yeah, I wanted something that I could sink my teeth into with regard to the direction that the art was going to go. And it's funny because what makes MoonKill work so well is that we're pretty much always on the same sheet of music when it comes to the music. But the one thing we couldn't agree on was the band name, and yeah, we struggled. There was always someone who had something wrong with it. The veto power was there, and finally, after 6 months, one of us threatened, like, "Okay, this has gone too far. Next time we get together, we're gonna have a naming party. Everyone's going to show up with, what did we say? Four nouns, 4 adjectives, some scissors, and a lovely assistant, and we're going to pull the name out of the hat and whatever we end up with." And then everyone was like, "Oh shit!" Like, I think it was you, Danny. You're like, "We could end up with a really shitty name," and I was like, "That's right. That's part of the fun of it, man." And so then everyone defaulted to the name that we all kind of liked for a while, and it was actually, at the time, it was Kill the Moon. I wanted to be Kill the Moon. And we were for about 2 weeks, and we were out drinking one night, and Dan pulled me aside, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm losing sleep over this. Like, I really feel very strongly it should be MoonKill and not Kill the Moon." And normally we settle things just democratically. Everyone gets a vote. But when someone has a really strong opinion about something on a song, or in this case, the name of the band, we defer to, like, okay, it turns out, so-and-so feels really strongly about it. So, yeah, it was that night. I checked with everyone else, like, yeah, we don't care. That's fine. So we became MoonKill instead. And, yeah, that's how that happened.
Hey guys, happy Halloween, and we're going to go to a quick commercial break. This is Ranger Danger Part 1 by MoonKill. The scene is not dead, unlike this Halloween. So, guys, welcome back. That was The Ruined Werewolf and Ranger Danger Part 1. We were going to play Part 2, but I fucked that up, so you got Part 1. I'm still joined in studio with the band MoonKill. Ruth is still harassing everyone, so it's a normal day. But guys, it's Halloween. What are y'all going as?
I'm always a last minute person with the costumes, so shout out to people who understand what that means. I got to be honest with you, I might just put on a robe and do like a Big Lebowski thing. Yeah.
As a kid, what was your favorite? Like, do you remember having a favorite costume when you were a kid?
I used to fuck around with some, put on some makeup or something like that, be a dinosaur maybe, or the Joker, something like that. Or just put on a robe.
I always wanted to go as the guy from Alien with the alien coming out of the stomach. And my mom was like, "No, absolutely under no fucking circumstance." I was like 7.
I was going to reprise last year's costume, not to get political on anyone. Either side, you could consider perhaps the fun in being Donald Trump for a night. And, I had this like crazy cotton candy hair, and that my face was orange, and I was wearing an orange jumpsuit. And it was really fun to be him for a day, regardless.
Because you could say all the shit.
Oh,
and
when
not
I walked
get away,
into
and get
a
away with
party,
it.
everyone knew I was there, and it was. No matter what I said, it was the best thing anybody's ever heard. And everyone who disagreed with anything I had to say was a loser, fake news. And it was a trip. And I was like, man, I was exhausted after one night. And I was like, this guy's been doing this for almost 80 years. Like, it's freaking nuts. It was so nuts. It was a pretty fun costume to wear. And I pissed a lot of people off.
Oh, I'm sure, but at the same time, probably like I bet the people that hated Trump got a giggle out of it too, because I'm sure you weren't. Sure, you weren't going around saying stupid shit.
Well, what was funny was because we're from Austin, so a lot of people at the party were just like, "Oh my God, no! Like I don't need to see this. I'm having fun tonight. I don't need to see this guy." And then some people didn't get that I was making fun of him, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's awesome. That's the best costume." You could tell they were like real Trump
Ooh, a
lovers.
little Proud Boy vibe going on there. Yeah, that's not what you want out of your fun Halloween night.
It was exhausting and at the same time, like really empowering and charging, invigorating to be him for one night on both sides. But yeah, it was kind of exhausting.
Said no one that's ever worked with Trump. Yeah. But what about you, man? What was your favorite Halloween costume?
Let's see. Growing up, always something scary, I guess. Werewolf. I like to be werewolves. Yeah.
A werewolf's a good one, but that takes a lot of time and effort. Unless you're just throwing the mask on.
I didn't have the skill or the time, but yeah, something like that.
My mom was really into just rock and roll. Like loved Alice Cooper. So she dressed me up as Alice Cooper when I was like 7 years old. There's a picture. It's the most amazing costume. It was top hat with like shrunken heads on it and like the makeup and everything.
Well, now I know what the cover for the photo or for the podcast is going to
be. It's my 7-year-old self. But now here's how my life works generally every day now is like I oversaturate myself with tasks of responsibility until Mario calls me at about like 10 p.m. on a Friday and says, "Hey, there's a party. You need to put together a costume right now and come out." And then he forces me out. And then that's basically every day of my life right now is Mario like pulling me into a party when I have something important to do, which is a really good friend to have. It's important.
Well, I just wanted to ask y'all because we've got a couple of things. It is Halloween, so we got to ask the obligatory as well. Favorite horror movies, since you all have such horror themes running throughout the music. What would you all say is your favorite horror movie?
Oh, The Shining, 100%.
The same thing. I was gonna say the same exact thing. I saw The Shining VHS. It was at my house, 7 years old or something like that. I saw it. I saw it again. I saw it again. And by the time I was 10, I've seen it millions of times. Millions. But anyways, yeah, Shining. So good.
And you wonder why you're writing songs like Murder House, Dead Holiday. But what about for you, man?
I don't know. I'm thinking.
Either one of y'all.
If I could say something more, a recent movie, more fairly recent, It Follows. Just absolutely scared the hell out of me. Watched it at home alone at night with the lights off, phone off, and just really let myself get just absolutely horrified by that movie. I very highly recommend it. Don't look up what it's about. Just watch it if you haven't. And that reminded me of another movie I saw that's even more recent. I was on a flight back from New York and, leafing through all the movies, and I see Smile on the as one of my options, and I'd never seen or heard of the movie. There's just this picture of this girl smiling. I'm like, oh, I'm in the mood for a feel good, kind of hit, whatever. And I start watching that. It turns out it's one of the scariest horror movies I've ever seen. I was so ill prepared for it. It is absolutely fantastic. And that too, I won't ruin, just other than to give it my full 5 stars, 2 thumbs up.
Smile. That's interesting. Shining and Smile.
Yeah, and It Follows.
It Follows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about for you, man?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I would say the Freddy Krueger, Jason films, that era for sure. But something about The Ring always creeped me out. Like,
dude, The Ring is fucking creepy.
That
man.
really creeped me out like so much. Oh man.
I think for me it was the first Scream, and that was because I was like 5 or 6 years old, and my parents' old roommate was in it. So
Oh,
they were just
really?
like, oh, let's just, watch it
man.
and see it. Yeah. He's the fat cameraman, Courtney Cox is cameraman in it. And gets his throat slit, Earl
Oh,
W.
wow.
Brown. Yeah. Later, oddly enough, ended up becoming the special ed brother in Something About Mary. Yeah.
No kidding. That's awesome.
bragging rights.
Oh yeah. He's actually Earl W. Brown has had a fucking great career. He's always been one of those that have like
the radar,
never been the
yeah.
main actor, but like you'd be amazed by his resume. But yeah, man, I saw that when I was like 5 or 6 years old. Terrified me. Like I would have to go downstairs, like the lights would be off. I'd be like creeping around the corner, like what's going on, man? Like
Scream, yeah.
but guys, I do want to get into you've got a new movie or new video out for Murder House, which will be the last song we play. Like, tell us about it. What's it about?
So yeah, it is in final production right now. We haven't picked the date out, but we've all agreed we'd like to have it out in time for Halloween. It is running with the science fiction kind of theme that's in a lot of our art, and I just got kicked out of my art studio. But before that happened, I was able to finish shooting a like old school George Lucas style, spaceships on strings and like a lot of pyrotechnics and stuff like that. And it lends itself really well to the sound of Murder House. And so yeah, that's going to be coming out. We're pretty excited about that. Our first like full length video. But yeah, Murder House. We'll on our Instagram. We'll let you know the countdown to the video release of that. But it's going to be pretty fun and very unique for sure.
Well, now there's a timeline on it, so deadlines, guys. But so you were saying you got kicked out of your studio. Like, have you just always been full time with art? Did you go to school for it? Or?
Never went to school for it. Just kind of just sort of self-taught.
Those are the best artists, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah. But yeah, I love it. I love that the band lets me, kind of gives me a blank canvas to do whatever I want with. And, in the end, they kind of like it too. So, yeah, but I have a total ball. Everyone has their own job outside of writing and playing the instrument. And mine is making the art. And I love it. So
Now, y'all were saying earlier that, everybody besides lazy ass Fred over here plays a bunch of different instruments in the band. Joking, Fred, I love you. You're an amazing drummer. But so how does that work? Do you guys just flip off between songs? Like, why do y'all do that?
It just, like, for example, we never had an official person on bass. So when we were writing a song, let's say Danny's on bass, from day one, it would stay like that. So, for example, Long Line, we wrote and we started writing it with Danny on bass, and he continued to focus on bass for that song, and he became the bassist. Mario plays bass on Dead Holiday just because he picked up the bass.
I happen to be holding it, I happened to be holding it when we jammed it the first time. Just kind of almost luck of the draw. We all like playing bass, and there is actually a song that we have where Fred hops up on the bass and Dan goes back to the drum kit. So it really kind of is one of these things where everyone enjoys playing the bass, but so we kind of just spread the wealth, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, here comes lazy Fred.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, every once in a while I'll pick up a stringed instrument when nobody's there and like play 2 notes on it and try to figure out how it all works. But when our very first practice, all 3 guys walked in with a guitar, and I was like, "Hey guys, who's playing bass? Do I get a rhythm section?" And then they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll sort it out." Yeah. And we never did. And so part of the fun was just the initial jam sessions. We were swapping everything, and they would make me play guitar or bass. And then eventually we started gelling into our spots of where we were best for the songs. And I still don't have a rhythm section, but it kind of helped drive our sound because Dan's guitar is super rhythmic. So he and I lock in on a lot of, he tends to think of, he plays drums. So he tends to think of guitar riffs from how a drummer would think of them sometimes. So that makes it really cool when we're writing rhythm parts. And then Danny and Mario play leads, and they'll tend to like think of a bass from that perspective. So allows us to be super creative. It also makes us be really creative live because we have to do really smooth transitions with it.
I'm sure sound techs love y'all. Yeah.
Well, what's also I think kind of interesting and one of the strengths of the band is that everyone writes now. Even Fred, who doesn't play guitar. So Dan and Danny were off on a smoke break, a cigarette break before we went on and rehearsed for the day. And Fred was tuning his drum kit, setting up, and he's like, hey, I was in the shower the other day, and I kind of thought of this cool riff, and he just sort of hummed it, and I was like this? And anyway, that's the opening riff to Chainsaw Bathroom Sex. And so...
Fucking brilliant name, by the way, y'all. Like, yeah.
That's a story in itself. We got a million of them. But initially, Dan and I were writing the most of the songs. And then, Fred chimed in with his riff, and then Danny's been writing. Everyone writes their own parts for every single song. But then, even, so Danny started writing songs too. We're like, damn, dude. It was like I hate to draw the analogy, but like the George Harrison. It was like, wait a second, this guy can write too. So, and then, Fred writing. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then, so when you get all four ingredients into any one song, that's where, I think the magic happens.
So we're getting there on time right now. I got 2 questions left for you all. So, one would be, what is the state of the scene where y'all are from, which is Austin currently? Like, is the punk scene thriving? Is it dying? Is it kind of just stayed the same?
I think the punk scene in Austin is great. I think the punk scene in all of Texas right now is thriving.
Amen.
I grew up in the DFW area, going to Denton, Dallas, and Deep Ellum. We would come here when it was like gritty, drive up here as a teenager and like go into clubs. A lot of house parties in Denton, and that vibe was similar in Austin when I moved to Austin. It disappeared for a long time, and I think it's the closest it's ever been to like the height of the punk scene, maybe 20, 30 years ago. I think a lot of it is COVID. A bunch of venues shut down, and it forced people to really focus on what they like and what they want to do. And so people are putting shows together, houses, tunnels, bridges. They're just doing whatever they can to get their music out, and I think that's awesome. And there's a revitalization of musicians that have been around for a while, like taking punk influences, kind of like we're doing. And there's also like a injection of youth into it right now, which is amazing. The venues, there was a bunch that kind of swapped and got, during COVID closed or changed names or changed ownerships, and they've been really great to us. So the scene in Austin has just been awesome to like let us play when we want, let us promote our shows how we want, and they've been super supportive. And we're because of that, we're going to be doing that same thing in DFW Denton area, because it's, I feel like it's very similar right now.
Now, is it to the point where you think musicians can finally start going full time, or do you think that that's still a long way off on the Austin circuit? Because we're seeing more and more in Dallas of people becoming full time musicians and that kind of stuff. Like, do you see that in Austin happening a lot more now?
I think so, for sure, because you have to be creative, because I think one of the reasons it feels like an older punk scene is because it's more DIY, and that used to be what made a punk band was like you handled all your own stuff, you booked your shows, you managed your own band, you wrote your own lyrics, you produced your own stuff, and that's what we're doing. And I think that's what a lot of bands are doing, is they're all self-managed, and even more so you can do that now because you can put stuff out digitally. You don't have to get a label to distribute your stuff. And I think if you're creative with how you manage your band and your business, then you can totally be a full-time musician, especially in Austin.
Anybody want to elaborate on that? Okay, so last question, guys. 15-year-old comes up to y'all at a show, says, I want to be MoonKill. What's y'all's advice to him?
Don't do it, kid.
You want to be MoonKill?
Or, yeah, what advice would you just give to a 15-year-old then? Like, what would you say? Like, don't fucking do this or do this. What's your best advice for somebody?
For a 15-year-old, and we've had many, people that age come up to us at shows and stuff, and we've met a lot of kids, San Antonio and Austin. I mean, what I would say to them is, first of all, thank you. It's good to be a part of like a the repertoire that like kids are listening to and they're into it, so we're happy to be part of that. But if you want to be in a band, high school or even earlier, just like many of us did, get some people together and play in a band, do like a local battle of the bands, do a talent show, put yourself out there and do what we're doing. We're in a band and it just takes a couple of easy steps, but just get some people together, believe in yourself, and make the music that you want to put out there, and believe in yourself that other people will also want to hear that as well. So
yeah, I would just say don't overthink it, because that's part of what we've joked about MoonKill, where if Dan and I were in control of everything, we would still be working on the first song until it was perfect. And if Mario was in control, we'd release it like the very first take. And Danny's kind of like in between of like, hey guys, maybe we should, eventually release something. So so I think just not overthinking it and then just diving in and just play and just, play, learn a couple, fundamentals. Dan and I were just talking about this, like how we learned, and I saved up for like 2 drum lessons in Fort Worth and went to 2 of them. And he's like, here's how to read music, and here's a book. And I still have that book. It's the one I warm up for every show with. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I took that and then I went and started playing with my friends, and then eventually they would teach me stuff. But yeah, you just don't overthink it. You just got to like go do it. And Mario's been huge for MoonKill with that. He's like, guys, let's not overthink it. Let's do it. Just do it now. Let's book the show. Let's record the album, and it works.
Man, Mario getting all kinds of love over here. What about you two?
Oh, advice. You're never too old to play in a punk rock band.
That is actually true.
That's all I got to say. Yeah, that's all we got to say.
Nah, man, we got this
15-year-old.
Oh, 15-year-old, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do drugs.
No, just it's so easy to learn how to play music if you want to. There's YouTube. There's like you could dive into all kinds of things. So learn an instrument and find some people you want to jam with and go from there.
Yeah, I would just say go create, make stuff. Give the world something that it doesn't have. And if you can do that with your buddies, like what a joy. Like, man, I love these dudes like brothers, And that we have made something that didn't exist until the 4 of us got together, It's like I'm not a dad or anything, but it's kind of like parenting. This sounds so cheesy, but it's like making something to go forth into the world and hopefully put smiles on people's faces. And the last piece of advice I would be, and you probably don't even need to say this because it would happen organically, but like don't be afraid to be bold with that creation and make whatever comes to you. You're going to have influences, but in the end, you're going to make something new, especially with, whatever bandmates you find out there in the world. That's so key. And in my case, I feel like I just got super lucky with these brilliant musicians. But anyway, yeah, I hope, if there is a 15-year-old or any age out there listening to this who's might be influenced, like go out, man, just pick up a guitar or whatever instrument and just go make it happen.
Well, guys, I really want to thank y'all for coming in. Like, I absolutely love the album, which, guys, it's available on Bandcamp for a cool $10. Go on there, support the cause, and go check out their new video, Murder House, which is out now. Oh, well, check out Murder House. It's coming.
The video's on its way. Yeah, it's
video's
almost
on
done.
its way.
Just some post-production magic to happen yet, and then we'll put it out there. We'll let you know when it's coming out, but it'll be soon.
Okay, and then just quickly shout out your socials and where people can find y'all.
Okay, we got Instagram. That's a big one. We got Instagram at MoonKill Band, and we're on the Facebook as well as MoonKill. I don't know if anyone still uses that, but we're on there. What else we got? We have MoonKillBand.com. We did get a TikTok.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah. Still learning our ways. But anyways, we're out there on Instagram. That's our main one, and we love to get messages, and we will respond and to our DMs if you slide into those things. So, yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
We're on every music platform out there,
Yeah.
So yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. It's out there. YouTube.
Perfect. Well, guys, once again, this is Murder House. Thank you, MoonKill, for coming in. Pick it up, Dallas. Well, you did it. You stuck around till the bitter end. If you want to hear more of my beautiful, sexy voice, then go to theaustinyoungshow.com. There you can find links to my social media where you can follow me, write reviews, all that kind of bullshit. Also, wherever you're listening to your podcast, there's a description. There you'll find the list of the band names and songs and where you can follow them. Seriously, go follow all of us. We'd appreciate it.